move on?
Can we all just?
I don't need. Amazing Grace. Just stand back to the right of Miss Bowditch. Okay.
Can we pretend?
Pick up the microphone.
And turn this off.
Hello.
Blah blah blah. Okay, and carefully put it back down, and then go. Okay, and then Amazing Grace. You got it changed?
Please no photography. Is she playing the? Yo.
I thought we were doing warm up. Yes.
Can we turn those off?
Ala Nita Nana, the song we just sang, is an arrangement by Michael Braz of a traditional Cuban carol, alternating between minor and major keys and including both Spanish and English lyrics. This carol tells of the baby Jesus sleeping so sweetly.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Schaefer. I am the chorus teacher at Estero High School, and we are so happy to be here this evening to be able to perform a few songs for you. I am in my second year of teaching at Estero High School. We have two choruses. This group is an auditioned group. We also have a full mixed chorus, men and women. We have an orchestra, a jazz band, wind symphony, and concert band. Rounds out our full music program at Estero High School. And now Marissa will introduce our next selection.
This arrangement of Amazing Grace by Stephen Hatfield, the composer, has written a counter melody for the singers, while the solo instrument plays the traditional hymn tune. Beginning with the voices in unison, this song gradually expands to a full three-part climax.
Our next selection is Bashana by Nurit Hirsch, and it will be sung in the original Hebrew language. The English paraphrase is, "Next year, when peace will come, we shall return to the simple pleasures of life so long denied us. You will see, oh, good it will be next year."
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. The school board meeting of February 24th, 2015 is now called to order. The time is 6 p.m. At this time, we request that all cellular phones and/or pagers be turned off or put in the silent mode. Also, we ask that you please refrain from using flash photography except during the special presentations portion of the program. We would like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student reaches his or her highest personal potential and the district's vision to be a world-class school system. Prior to the start of this evening's board meeting, we have been enjoying the girls' vocal ensemble from Estero High School under the direction of choral teacher Ms. Karen Schaefer, accompanied by Ms. Trudy Bowditch, media specialist, and student flautist? Okay. This group is the most advanced choral ensemble at Estero, consisting of 19 young ladies that must audition to gain entry to the class. All are upperclassmen except for one freshman. Okay. They are preparing to sing for the music performance assessments in Northport on Friday, March 6th, and are very excited about that competition opportunity. During the fall semester, they provided music for the Estero Christmas tree lighting ceremony, sang Christmas carols at the local Chick-fil-A, and provided a program for luncheon at the Colony Golf and Country Club in Estero. At this time, they will perform one more song. Thank you.
Our last selection, Dance on My Heart by Alan Kupke, is a charming fusion of madrigal and contemporary styles. The song tells a story of a young maiden who is asked the question, "What must we do to win your hand and gain your kind affection?" by two handsome gentlemen. They tell her what they offer her, but she refuses them. She accepts, however, the last suitor, as he promises to love her throughout her life, for she says, "You dance on my heart."
Once two handsome gentlemen asked a fair young maid a question. What must we do to win your hand and gain your kind affection? One said he was stronger by far than any other man that she'd meet. Also being braver than most said, "Please marry me. I'm adoringly sweet." Then said the other one, "If I gave you diamonds and pearls, would you be my bride? I can offer power and riches all through your life. You'll be satisfied." Well, she replied, "I made my selection, and you receive my love and affection if you dance on my heart, if you sang to my soul. But alas, my heart is not pounding, and your songs are not sounding. Therefore, I cannot marry you." Then a kindly gentleman asked a fair young maid a question. "What must I do to win your hand and gain your kind affection?" "I can only promise to love you, be at your side through all of my life. I will be your faithful companion. Come take my hand, say you'll be my wife." "Sir," she replied, "you are my selection.
as well. You deserve it. Encore! Encore! One more! One more, encore. How about one that you did earlier? Serious.
Let's do a Christmas song.
Amazing Grace.
But they can't do it.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fear relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed, when we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. The hour I first believed was blind, was so blind, but now I see.
Great job, girls. Great job.
At this time, we'll take a brief pause to clear the performance area and thank you again. That was an extraordinary performance and a wonderful start to our evening. Thank you.
Good job.
Let's start again. This evening's student representative is Hunter Sperry. Welcome. He will be graduating from Mariner High School this spring with an overall GPA of 3.86 and a weighted GPA of 4.67. Hunter's present class ranking is 16th out of 352 students. He is a 4-year varsity soccer player and was a team captain this year and last year. In 2013, Hunter's club team won the State of North Carolina U16 Boys Championship in soccer. Last year he played for the Cape Coral Cyclones U17 boys team. They won the President's Cup State Championship, the Southeast Region Championship, and finished 4th in the nation in the President's Cup National Championship. In his free time, he likes to hunt and fish and do just about anything outdoors. Hunter is a member of the National Honor Society, the National Technical Honor Society, and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He is a graduate of the Cape Coral Junior Leadership Program and participated in the Florida American Legion Boys State Program this past summer. Hunter is a member of the STEM at Work program at Mariner High School and represents Mariner on the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. He has just been selected for Mariner's Captain's Table, which is an honorary group of distinction selected annually and comprised of 12 seniors exhibiting leadership and academic skills. Hunter has been accepted into the honors program at West Virginia University, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and Florida State University, and has also received an appointment to the United States Military Academy at West Point. While he has not officially decided where he is going, he says he has been leaning towards West Point. As for the future, Hunter is considering becoming involved in politics at the state or national level, a member of the FBI, or a history teacher.
There you go.
Wow. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hunter, we're looking forward to any... and we'll be eager to hear your thoughts as we proceed through this evening's agenda. This evening's agenda includes the invocation, the presentation of colors and Pledge of Allegiance, 3 recognitions, public comment on agenda items, consent action items, which include 4 items under resolutions, 2 items under executive services, 10 items under business and finance, 7 items under operations, 3 items under teaching and learning, 3 superintendent's recommendations, 3 items for public hearing, then non-agenda public comment, and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Dozier.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Teuber. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Mrs. Dozier will deliver the invocation, after which Mr. Teuber will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. After the special presentations portion of the agenda, a brief recess will be called to allow those who wish to depart an opportunity to do so. Please rise for the invocation.
And I'm going to preface what I'm going to say tonight with, last night I was in my office and I went through a folder because something told me to, and I believe everything happens for a reason, and for some reason I pulled this out that I've had in a folder for a long time and haven't used it in many, many years and had to dust it off. But I think it holds true to a workshop that we had today, and I think it's very appropriate for the board members, and they'll see why, but I think that all of you will see that it's very appropriate for everyday life for each and every one of us. A young lady confidently walked around the room. She held in her hand a raised glass of water while leading a seminar and explaining stress management to her audience. Everyone knew she was going to ask the ultimate question, half empty or half full. She fooled them all. How heavy is this glass of water, she asked. And she said it with a smile. Answers called out, and they ranged from 8 ounces to 20 ounces. She replied, the absolute weight does not matter. It depends on how long I hold it. If I hold it for a minute, that's not a problem. If I hold it for an hour, I have an ache in my right arm. If I hold it for a day, you'll have to call an ambulance. In each case, it's the same weight, but the longer I hold it, the heavier it becomes. She continued, and that's the way it was with stress. If we carry our burdens all the time, sooner or later, as the burden becomes increasingly heavy, we won't be able to carry on. As with this glass of water, You have to put it down for a while and rest before holding it again. When you're refreshed, we can carry on with the burden. Holding stress longer and better each time practiced. Keeping that in mind, so as early in the evening as you can, put all of your burdens down. Don't carry them through the evening or into the night. Pick them up again tomorrow if you must. And these are some things, some guidelines to remember. Accept the fact that some days you're the pigeon and some days you're the statue. Always keep your words soft and sweet, just in case you have to eat them. Always read stuff that will make you look really good if you die in the middle of it. Drive carefully. It's not only cars that can be recalled by their maker. If you can't be kind, at least have the decency to be vague about it. If you can't be kind, at least, I just said that one. If you lend someone $20 and you never see that person again, it was probably worth the $20. It may be your sole purpose in life is simply to serve as a warning to others. Never buy a car that you cannot push. Never put both feet in your mouth at the same time, because then you won't have a leg to stand on. Nobody cares if you can't dance well, just get up and dance. Since the early bird always gets the worm, and I love this one because I live by it every day, that worm gets eaten, so sleep late. The second mouse gets the cheese. I don't want to be the first mouse. When everything's coming your way, you're in the wrong lane. Birthdays are good for you. The more you have, the longer you live. Some mistakes are too fun to make only once. We could learn a lot from crayons. Some are sharp, some are pretty, and some are very dull. But some have weird names, and some are different colors. But they all have to live in the same box. A truly happy person is one who can enjoy the scenery on a detour. Have an awesome day and know that someone has thought of you today. And most importantly, save the earth. It's the only planet that has chocolate. Please bow your heads. Dear God, we thank you for the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Thank you for all of the families that are represented here this evening. We appreciate the opportunity to gather here this evening for this school board meeting. Please guide us as a board as we make the important decisions and vote on the recommendations that the superintendent brings forth. Lord, please guide not only the board members and the superintendent, but every public member as they begin to speak this evening. Guide their tongues and help it be soft and sweet. We ask that this in your name, for we give you the glory for what we will accomplish this evening. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Dozier. At this time, please remain standing and welcome Sergeant First Class retired James R. Haworth, Army instructor of the JROTC program at Cape Coral High School. He will introduce our cadet presenting the colors this evening. Sergeant First Class Haworth retired after 23 years of active duty service and is a veteran of Desert Shield and Desert Storm. He has been with our school district for 9 years, has a master's degree in Master's of Science degree from Hodges University. Sergeant.
Thank you. The national colors for our Pledge of Allegiance tonight are presented by Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Constance Vadnais from Cape Coral High School Seahawk Battalion. Cadet Vadnais is the president of the Cadet Board and is second in command of our program. She is the commander of the Color Guard and a member of the regulation and exhibition drill teams. Outside of school, she has volunteered over 850 hours as a captain with the Cape Coral Police Explorer Post. She has a weighted GPA of 4.4 and upon graduation will join the United States Air Force. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
They get to sit down, but I don't get to.
At least a year. I said, no, Pam, you can't sit down. It took me at least a year to figure that out.
I would like the following to please join me at the lectern. Ms. Lori Brooks, Assistant Director of School Counseling Services, Student Services, Ms. Mary Lynn Rodriguez, Ryan Hensley, did I say it right? And Ben Casey, 12th grade students at Estero High School, and Mr. Norm Hybor, business teacher at Estero High School. Ryan Hensley, did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay. And Ben Casey are the winners of the Character Education Digital Design Competition for the month of February. The school board and superintendent are pleased to congratulate Ryan and Ben for their creative design and supporting character education in our schools. We're going to step forward. Would anyone like to say?
I just wanted to thank the school board for sponsoring this. Anytime we can recognize our students, it's a great thing, and it's why I love what I teach and where I teach, two young men like this.
This time I would like to ask Command Sergeant Major Bill Lansbury, North Fort Myers High School JROTC instructor, Master Sergeant William Patrick Miller, the Mariner High School JROTC instructor, and Sergeant First Class William Cutts, Lehigh Senior JROT instructor, and Command Sergeant Major David Galaka, Island Coast JROT instructor, to please join me at the lectern. On December 13, 2014, four county junior high school Raider teams finished in the top 3 places in the state competition. North Fort Myers High School Mixed Raider Team and the Mariner High School's Male Raider Teams are state champions, finishing first in a field of more than 55 teams. The Female Raider Team from Mariner High placed second overall, while the Lehigh Senior High Female Team placed third in statewide. Each team completed 5 physically and mentally demanding tasks that include constructing and crossing a 1-rope bridge, fitness challenge, 1-mile cross-country rescue, litter carry, tire flip, and a 5-kilometer team run. This time, I would like the commanders, Lansbury, you do the north, right? You introduce each one of them? Okay. As you come through, say a few words.
First up, J.C. Newton, Antoine LaChapelle, Brittany Arsenault, Gabriel Serrano, Benjamin Pogue, Dylan McKinney, Commander Sidney Lohman, Caitlin Carcota, Derek Weiss, Priscilla Pacheco, Josie Rivera, and Jameson Jasek. This team placed first in the state in every category, except for the 5K run where they placed second, first overall, and probably trained in excess of 1,000 hours. The best thing of the competition is a t-shirt that I saw that said, your son plays high school sports. How cute. So. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm extremely proud to present to you the Mariner Leadership Academy Raiders. We made history this year. We had our female team not only place number 1 in the district, but second in the state. The only team to beat these young ladies was the number 1 team in the nation. So that's not too shabby. But I'd like to introduce starting with the commander, Cadet Arroyo, Cadet Perkins, Cadet Swan, Cadet Ertner, Cadet Gifford, Cadet Swan, and I'd be remiss if I did not announce Miss Anna Hernandez. I'd like to present our boys. Our boys were I'd also like to mention that those ladies are also ranked 6th in the nation. I'd like to begin with our males. Our male teams are the Florida State champions. Our captain, Mr. Connor Swalder, who also has a 4-year ROTC scholarship to Embry-Riddle. Mr. Cadet Angulo, he's my second commander. He has a GPA of a 5.1, and he also is accepted to the West Point Military Academy. Cadet St. Laurent, Cadet Lavassier, Cadet Morphus, Cadet Sindra, Cadet Nasera Smith, Cadet Big Letty, Cadet DeWitt, Cadet Gonzalez, Cadet Guevara, Cadet Adams, and Cadet Sellers.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sergeant First Class Cutts from Lehigh Senior High School. I would like to introduce the all-female team who placed 3rd in the state overall. Starting with the commander, Rosa Cabrera, the executive officer, Kanisha Alonso, Sandra Ruiz, Talia Sanchez, Silali Ramirez, Tasha Paul, Sarah Ramirez, Shakira Safront, Caitlin Anderson, Ariel Vieira, Anna Avera, Annalise DeLeon, and that should be it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sergeant Major Galka from Island Coast, and I'm proud to introduce Joseph Poteet. He competed in October at the Georgia Nationals. After a grueling obstacle course, he placed first in the nation.
I would like to invite Ms. Jean Ann Faleris to please join me here at the lectern. Ms. Faleris is the Executive Director of School Development and the Facilitator for Lee School's Fine and Performing Arts Department. I know I saw her here. Here she comes. Once again this year, the Lee County School District was well represented at the Florida Music Educators Association All-State Music Conference, which was held January the 14th through the 17th in Tampa. Tonight we are recognizing 40 elementary and middle school students who attended the conference and earned all-state recognition and awards in various areas. Before I call the students forward to be congratulated by the board and the superintendent, I would like to present these certificates to Ms. Faleris, who will be accepting them on behalf of the students. And we will now take group pictures with every group during the recognition. Students, I'm asking you to return to your seats after the pictures, and as a courtesy to the other individuals being recognized this evening, that you exit the boardroom, not exit the boardroom until the conclusion of all the special presentations. Thank you. And then I will ask Ms. Faleris, after we've called all the students, if she would like to say something. Elementary chorus. Samantha Dravick, Cape Elementary School. Come down as I call your name, please. Tommy Frudenlick, Cape Elementary School. Savannah Kohler, Cape Elementary School. Camrith Lee, Cape Elementary School. Sarah Meyer, Cape Elementary School. Do you want a picture of each school or all of them together? Okay, all right. Jacob Haley, San Carlos Elementary School. Isabella Ganat, San Carlos Park Elementary School. Mariana Oliveira, San Carlos Park Elementary School. Megan Reed, Skyline Elementary School. Emily Thompson, Skyline Elementary School. Bailey Williamson, Skyline Elementary School. Brooke Williamson, Skyline Elementary School. Taylor Wood, Skyline Elementary School. Talia Taminia Nello, the Sanibel School. Anna Willis, the Sanibel School. We will now take a picture with all of the elementary students. FOA Orchestra, Middle School Level Orchestra. Rafael Ruiz, Cypress Lake Middle School. Clary Scribner, Diplomat Middle School. Cynthia Sheng, Three Oaks Middle School. FBA Jazz, Middle School Level Jazz Band. Christian Paranello, Diplomat Middle School. FBA Band, Middle School Level 7 and 8 Honor Band. Christian Snydeker, Bonita Springs Middle Center for the Arts. Lily Todd, North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. Dylan Heitman, Cypress Lake Middle School. Ardwin Seren, Varsity Lakes Middle School. And Braden March, the Alva School. I think we have principals here too, so if the principals will come down and join them, join the students. How are you? That young man that I just grabbed, he's on our student advisory for the school board, and he holds his own with every senior that was in the room. His name is Braden. He's right there with the suit on, the navy blue jacket. He's walking that way now. I mean, how impressive was he? I mean, unbelievable. He is unbelievable. And I will never forget him. FVA Chorus, Middle School Level, Treble Chorus. Alicia Bernal, Diplomat Middle School. Camry Ackerman, Lexington Middle School. Chantel DeVille, North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. Janeria Taylor, North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. Grace Griffins, North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. Brianna Joseph, North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. Reagan Denny, North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. Alexa Gilfetter, North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. Catherine Zuro, North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. Christian Miller, Trafalgar Middle School. FVA Chorus, Middle School Level, Mixed Vocal Chorus. Ashley Atkins, Bonita Springs Middle Center for the Arts. Maya Sine Charles, Cypress Lake Middle School. Jesse Mazzari, North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts, Stephanie Morganug, North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts, Casey Tester, North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts, and Philip Stringham, Three Oaks Middle School. And while we're taking pictures, I mean, each one of these groups, what fine-looking groups of students that they were. I would like to ask Ms. Valeris if she would like to say a few words on behalf of all of these individuals.
I would just like to congratulate all of these students and their directors as well. These are students who have undergone one of the most rigorous evaluation and audition processes that a middle school student could possibly manage. In many cases, particularly with our musicians, they are multi-parts. They are both written and performance assessments, and they are selected from the best of the best and then have an opportunity to perform with a group of incredibly talented musicians at the state, all-state, for 3 days in January every year. And I've always known that it is not only a concert that their parents will always remember, but it has always been an opportunity that those students remember forever. So congratulations.
At this time, we'll take a brief recess, so those who wish to leave may do so. It's up.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Martin, please address the issue of public comment.
School board policy provides the opportunity to address the school board concerning items on the agenda or other subjects relevant to the operation of the school district. The opportunity to address the school board concerning items on the agenda occurs at the beginning of the meeting at this time. The opportunity to address issues not on the agenda for this meeting occurs later in the meeting, just before board member comment. There is also a public hearing being held this evening, and a few different people have asked me about the opportunity to speak with respect to those items. Those three items that are on the public hearing portion of the agenda, which are adoption of policies, one having to do with hazing, the other with another with background screening, and the third concerning instructional materials adoption. The opportunity to provide comment with respect to those three policies comes during public hearing. The school board chair will give you an opportunity to provide comment at that time, just before the board takes action on those policies. If you completed a card and submitted that to me before the meeting began, you'll be called in the order of the card submitted, with speakers commenting on agenda items called at this time and those commenting on non-agenda items called at the later opportunity. If you have not submitted a card but still wish to address the school board chair, Ms. Morgan, will give you an opportunity to indicate that desire in a few moments. When you indicate such desire, please indicate whether you wish to address an item on the agenda or some other subject. You may speak at both opportunities, but must limit your comments to a subject for which that public comment opportunity is provided. If you comment on an issue not on the agenda during the agenda public comment opportunity, you'll be required to hold your comments until the non-agenda public comment opportunity. The board does not respond during public comment time to remarks made by speakers. Comments concerning items on the agenda may be addressed by the board in their discussion on that agenda item before taking action. Comments concerning subjects not in the agenda may be addressed during board member comment immediately following non-agenda comment. Speakers are required to confine their remarks to educationally relevant issues. Attacks on individuals and abusive comments will not be tolerated. If speakers persist in violating such rules after receiving a warning from the chair, they may be removed from the meeting. The time allowed per speaker is 3 minutes. Ms. Morgan, I have 6 cards this evening, all as to non-agenda issues.
Is there anyone on the right side of the auditorium who wishes to address an agenda item? Please stand and identify yourself. And the item is? I beg your pardon?
We really need an identification, Ms. Morgan.
Yes, we need to know what agenda items you're planning to address. Mr. Fox? I'm sorry, fine, thank you. Mr. Fox? Mr. Fox? Thank you.
Again, that is a public hearing item. You can provide comment at that point, ma'am. You do not need to indicate at this time.
Is there an agenda item you wish to speak to? Okay, thank you. Anybody on the left side of the auditorium who wishes to, please stand, identify yourself, and agenda or non-agenda? And non-agenda. I will come back to you.
And the agenda item?
No, oh, that's right, thank you. Agenda item is?
That there is no good
There
cause
is no
item
good
on the
cause.
agenda this evening.
No.
Yes, but there is no item, so there's nothing to be addressed on the agenda with respect to good cause.
Right. Was that the only item? Okay. And I saw some, oh, yes. Non-agenda. All right, let me return to this side of the auditorium. Mr. Fox gave me his agenda items. Did I miss somebody who wished to? Thank you, Mr. Fox. Okay, so I have 2 on agenda items and 3 on non-agenda.
You need to ask them who on what's non-agenda?
It's now, and I'm trying to ask at the time I call on you whether you're speaking on non-agenda or agenda. Am I not? I was speaking on both. Okay, very good. Oh. All right, Mr. Valenta, I have you down for both agenda and non-agenda. I have Mr. Fox down for agenda and non-agenda. I have Ms. Fahey down for non-agenda. I have Jerry Ware down for non-agenda. Have I missed anybody? Yes. Thank you.
Ms. Morgan, I don't believe we have an agenda item identified for Mr. Valenta.
No, we don't.
Yeah, Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you. Yes, ma'am. This is for both. Oh, no, not for the public
it's not.
hearing. No, this is for public comment on the agenda, public comment, non-agenda. Mr. Valenta, would you care to read through the agenda and just tell us which items that you are going to? Okay. Thank you. Next, no, then we start with public comment. Okay. Oh, you have no, you have no agenda. Okay, then I will start with Mr. Valenta. Mr. Fox.
Thank you, Board, and that presentation by Karen Schaefer with her group is fabulous. We get to enjoy that every week, as she's the choral teacher at our church at Cypress Lake United Methodist Church, so you're invited anytime. Come by. It's great, and my wife sings in her choir, too, so it's pretty good for me. I get a lot. So, what I'd like to address tonight on the agenda items is the vendor contracts that are awarded. I've been coming to this board meeting almost a year now and have these things are pretty much rubber stamped and pretty involved in the finances, as you know. It involved myself in it. I feel this is an area where the most money could be saved by this board. I hear a lot of screaming and yelling about school buses, but really busing's part of public school system. But these contracts they come to the board, and I don't want to say this in a bad way, but they're rubber stamped, and there's never a question asked about how the numbers were arrived at, how much competition, how many bids were received on each one. I know for a fact from personal experience on the business end dealing with the school board, I've seen a lot of shenanigans. When there's only one bidder or two bidders, there's a lot of things that people can get away with to get money that otherwise wouldn't have to be spent. So I'm very weary of these contracts, and I'm not saying that anything's done wrong, but as you have Mr. Martin to advise you in legal matters, perhaps I would suggest and ask that the board form a vendor contract advisory board that could review each one of these, say on a weekly basis, for the board itself. I mean, the superintendent does her job, but before you get to it, before you sign off on $1 million deal, perhaps have some knowledgeable advice from someone like you would from Mr. Martin before you make a legal decision. Like you had a big one today at the special meeting. Probably could save the board millions, if not tens of millions of dollars every year. And the second item I wanted to address was the South High School. I applaud the decision to delay it a year. I think the piece of property could be improved upon, and it gives you an opportunity to do that and serve Bonita Springs a lot better. But I noticed a quote from someone down in Bonita in the paper yesterday. It said, the school board needs to cut back on the busing so they can pay for this, for the high school in Bonita Springs. And I think to myself, oh my gosh, it illustrates how out of whack the public is with the reality of the school board situation. As I'm saying here with these vending contracts, that's where the money's to be saved. This guy doesn't realize that if you build a school down in Bonita Springs, they have to have the opportunity to bus people down to that school. So he can't have it both ways. He doesn't really know what he's saying. But that's okay. I mean, so it's my challenge to you to educate the public much better as sales tax, getting out of the debt.
Mr. Fox.
Yes, I'm out of time.
Thank you.
Mr. Valenta?
Please turn on the microphone. The system isn't working. Try again, Mr. Valenta.
I don't see a lot. Okay. On the arts, since 1994 and the national standards for arts were released, less and less arts have been taught in schools. We don't want fed ed, we are fed up. On the purchasing month for March of 2015, the purchasing professional's role is simple: spending taxpayers' money. How much awareness is really needed, and you recognizing March as purchasing month doesn't change anyone's awareness of what these individuals do. I'm not sure what section this is in, but in the expanded agenda, there was purchase requisitions. Purchase requisition number 203409 to Heritage Service Group Orlando. The amount is odd, and I can't figure out what that amount is. It says 4,4049.81. So either there's an extra digit in it, or it's supposed to be 44,000, but I can't tell what that number is. I'm not sure what page number in the PDF it was, but. And then on the 104 items of tangible property to be removed, what are we doing with the obsolete items? Are we selling them through something like governmentliquidators.com, or are we throwing them in a trash bin? And also, there's many schools that have missing items that are unable to locate. What are these items that are unable to locate? Are they staplers, or are they laptops? Are they pencil sharpeners, or are they a vehicle? I mean, it kind of matters. To say that there's 3 items missing from such and such a school doesn't really paint the picture to the public. Thank you, that's all I got.
Okay. Next is approval of action items in the agenda under consent. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under the unfinished business table portions of the agenda? Ms. Dozier.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to pull item 4D1.
4D1. Mr. Teuber?
Yes, I have several. I have 4B1. 4D1's already pulled, so 4E1, 4E2. Well, actually, that's been scratched, so pull that one. 4E1, and then 6C.
6C is the superintendent's recommendation, so it would need to be pulled.
Just have to mark it on my notes. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Ms. Laverdiere?
Thank you.
And I have none. Is there a motion to approve the agenda's consent items with the exception of 4D1, 4B1, 4E1?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Dozier,
Second.
seconded by Ms. LaRiviere. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Included in the approval of consent items on the agenda are the following resolutions proclaiming the month of March 2015 as Art in Our Schools Month, the month of March 2015 as Purchasing Month, March 9th through 15, 2015 as National Foreign Language Week, and March 2nd, 2015 as Read Across America Day, and we will all be doing that, I am sure. Okay, we have 3 pulls to address. First one is 4B1. Dr. Graham, would you please read the recommendation?
One. Is that right, Steve? Is that what we want?
The minutes.
Yeah.
No, I know. I'm at 4. Yeah, no,
I-
4 B. Yes, it was 4B1, approval of the minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get myself. Yes, there's not a recommendation. Well, you can write. Go ahead. Dr.
Approval of
Martin.
minutes of school board meetings, February 9th, 2015, school board briefing meeting, February 9th, 2015, school board regular meeting.
The reason why I pulled this is,
You need a motion first.
Yeah. Need a motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Sorry. I get my head in the game here. Mr. Martin, this is a clarification. There was the way the minutes are being read to approve the agenda as presented. There were 2 items that were redacted from the agenda minutes, but they aren't properly reflected in the minutes that those 2 items were pulled. And so I wanted to make sure that there should be a notation that the agenda gets approved as was with those 2 removed, and it's fallen through the cracks. In other words, if you pull back the agenda as presented that was currently presented to the board that wasn't amended, that's what we got approved, the 2 positions as the coordinator positions that got redacted, but we still voted on the agenda without that correction.
Did we?
I understand. I was not here at that meeting. I am not aware of whether the school board was advised of that, of removal of those appointments from the agenda. If they were not, I understand your point, and the minutes should be amended to specifically state that the appointment of those 2 individuals was withdrawn from the agenda before the meeting. I don't know if that was communicated to board members before the meeting or not.
I did not communicate it at the table. I can tell you that. And Mrs. Dozier, you have your hand up.
Yes, I knew about it ahead of time because it was one of the items that I was going to question during the meeting. So it actually got pulled, and I know that there was a time frame because the meetings went so close together that when the item got pulled, I think that there was a notice that went out at like 5:57 or something like that. And then by the time that it came over to Ms. Johnson, it was 6:27. So, and it wasn't, as Mr. Toiber said, it was not reflective in what we were seeing on our screen. I knew that it was not supposed to be there, but because it's got to be in a more timely manner. It's, when we have a pull, it's got to be, it can't be done immediately unless we voice it here at the table. So for future, that's what we have to do.
Okay. Thank you.
If it was not communicated through a written memo nor at the board table, my advice would be that there be a motion to amend, to revise the February 9 minutes to indicate the removal of those 2 appointments.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. The next item is 4D1.
41, if everybody wants to turn to page 41. However, I would ask that you go to the second page, which would be 42.
We need
And
to
I-
have Dr. Graham
Oh,
read
sorry,
it.
I'm
No, that's
sorry.
okay. I'm sorry, and you were saying, I interrupted you. You were telling us the numbers.
No, go ahead. It was
42.
on page 42 and 43.
Okay.
Dr. Graham, your
What, 41
recommendation?
is what I'm reading.
No, 42.
I recommend board approve, 4D2 or 4D1? What am I?
41.
41.
That's what I thought, okay. I recommend board approval of the general personnel recommendations, including administrative, certificated support, and substitute staff, and out-of-field appointments.
Board members, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Board member discussion. Mrs. Dozier.
I was actually going to divide this out and because I'm only going to speak to one issue, and I'm going to speak to the issue of retirement. Miss Yvonne Bryan, or Dr. Bryan, who has been a longtime friend, colleague, mentor, a lot of things. She's in the room today. She has been with the district for many years. She's been at several schools. She's been a change agent, a turnaround principal, somebody who can definitely she's definitely a mover and a shaker, and she can get things done. And I'm going to tell you, there is a tremendous void that this district will feel. However, Valerie Scheckler, who will be stepping in her shoes. I want to tell you good luck, but also that you have size 20 shoes to fill, because she may be a little lady, but she carries big feet with her. She has big shoes. So I want to congratulate Dr. Bryan, and I want to wish her well, and I want to remind her that this is her home. It will always be her home, and you can always come back home. So, thank you.
Oh, look at this.
She's also very modest.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Did I hear you? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, the next item, pulled item.
You want to go ahead and let Dr. Graham announce?
Yes, that's right, thank you. Dr. Graham?
Personnel.
Yes. This would be a good opportunity.
I'm pleased to introduce Stephanie Booker, who is going from James Stevens International Academy teacher to assistant principal. She's here with her principal, Tommy Bowen. And I'm also pleased to introduce Valerie Scheckler, who is going to be she's going from assistant principal to interim principal at Spring Creek Elementary.
Thank you. The next item that's been pulled is 4E1. Dr. Graham, would you please?
I recommend board approval of the contracts with Innovative Designs for Education for 2014-15, 15-16, 16-17 to provide one-to-one technology-infused classroom professional development to all middle and high school instructional staff. The total cost over 3 fiscal years is $406,520, which equates to an estimated cost per student in grades 6 through 12 of $11.10.
Board members, do I have a motion to approve?
Moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Toiber, seconded by Ms. La Riviere. Discussion. Mr. Toiber.
Thank you. The reason why I pulled this, and maybe I might have missed it, but this is $1.2 million across 3 years. I don't remember if we got briefed on this. I did the research, and I saw this company up in New Jersey. I saw the book they're writing, and I saw all the stuff that they're presenting, but I didn't. Is this just? Can you explain to me where this is coming from and why we're adding this piece? And
This is part of the digital classroom plan that was presented to I don't remember the date we briefed it, but we did brief it. And this is the training for the one-on-one technology that we're going to be doing, and I've talked to each board member individually about that, but it is part of the digital classroom plan.
I didn't. But did this particular piece go out for bid on the training portion of it, or do we just? How did they get selected? I didn't see a rubrics or I didn't see any background. All of a sudden, these people just showed up and were given a $1.2 million contract, and that's.
I know there was research done by the staff. I will have to get details from them and bring it back. Yeah. If you'd like me to hold on this until I can do that for you,
if you would please, because I looked at their organization. I mean, it's a group of 15 to 20 people that are up there in New Jersey, and they've got a lot of accolades from a lot of different school districts, but I just didn't know who else is out there, who are they competing against, and that type of question, and I just don't have the information backup that I need.
I'll be happy to get it for you.
Making a motion to table?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm making a motion to table to the next meeting, and I apologize. Dr. Graham and I, with all the things happening with the Golden Apple, we didn't get a chance to talk right away. I probably had this taken care of.
Thank you.
So no fault of Dr. Graham's. But
So the motion is to postpone to the March 17 meeting.
Yes, sir.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that takes us to Superintendent's recommendations. Dr. Graham.
Approval of RFP number R116928JM for wide area network and internet service awarded to Embark Florida, doing business as CenturyLink for the period of March 9th, 2015 through March 8th, 2016. The estimated annual expenditure of $1,400,000 pursuant to the same terms and conditions as previously approved by the board. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Dozier.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. La Riviere. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
For a 5-year agreement with Focus School Software for Adult Ed and CTE Student Information System and Post-Secondary Finance System licensing, implementation services, training services, hosting and support and maintenance fees for the period February 25th, 2015 through February 24th, 2020 at a total cost of $555,209 with the district cost of $220,644, and recommend authorization for the not-to-exceed first-year expenditure of $9,000. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Dozier, seconded by Mr. Teuber. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
Approval of the LLL South Zone High School timeline, 2018 opening in Bonita Springs, pending the ability to acquire property on or before December 31st, 2015, that is suitable for a high school. Such approval gives the authority to the superintendent, assistant superintendent of operations, director of facility development and programming, and/or the director of planning, growth, and capacity to hold discussions with landowners, their agents and/or brokers, and developers in the interest of site acquisition. Likewise, the approval allows the superintendent, assistant superintendent of operations, director of facility development and programming, and/or the director of planning, growth, and capacity, and the school board attorney to negotiate with the owners, their agents, and/or brokers, including the purchase price of the land, contingent upon approval by the school board. All other requirements outlined in Board Policy 9.01 will also be met prior to bringing a final recommendation for purchase to the school board.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Teuber, seconded by Mrs. Dozier. Any discussion? Mr. Teuber.
I'm just glad the city of Bonita, with approval of this vote, the city of Bonita realizes that we are serious. We're going to put a school in Bonita unless there is absolutely no properties. And I can tell you for a fact, we were at a workshop today, and there is a phenomenal map that our people have already put together that shows the different properties that they're looking at. They're doing it right. I want to thank Mr. Moore and Mr. Snell and Dr. Graham for putting together this timeline. We're going to do it right. They're going to have the best location and the best, from the briefing we had today, the best academic plans. It will be another flagship high school, so I will definitely support this, and we apologize for Bonita for taking a little bit of time, but it's a 50-year commitment, and we just want to make sure we're spot on, so I'll be supporting this.
Mrs. Dozier.
I'm going to yield my time to the chair, as this is your district.
Well, no, okay, here we go. Bonita, here we come. I'll let it go with that.
And I'll support it if that's what you
Okay.
want.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Okay, public hearings. Dr. Graham, would you please present your recommendations for this evening's public hearing items?
Approval of the revisions to Policy 2.18, instructional materials to include standards for the selection of instructional materials as required in Senate Bill 864. The effective date of this revision shall be Wednesday, February 25th, 2015. Approval of the creation of Policy 4.141, hazing to comply with Section 1006.135 Florida statutes, which was amended during the 2014 legislative session to require each school district in the state to adopt a policy that prohibits hazing and provides consequences for a student who commits an act of hazing. The effective date of this revision shall be Wednesday, February 25th, 2015. Approval of the revisions to Policy 5.04, fingerprinting and background screening to comply with statutory requirements and to be consistent with the district processes and procedures. The effective date of this revision shall be Wednesday, February 25th, 2015.
At this time, the public will be invited to speak on these three items. The time allowed for comment is 3 minutes. Is there anyone on the right side who wishes to speak? Mary Orthodoxou, Bob Valenta.
Wait a minute, where's
Thank you. Anybody on the left? Oh, Angie, hi. Angie Salinger.
Lori Fahey.
Lori Fahey. It's Tara Jenner, I think. Is that Tara? And Chris?
Lori.
Is there anybody else?
Did
No?
you get Lori's name down?
Who?
Lori.
I think she got,
Yeah. Yeah.
she got your name, I think. Didn't you get hers first? Yeah.
First up is Mary Orthodoxu.
For this one first.
Good evening, Board. I was very concerned when I saw this revision to Policy 2.18. The way it reads, it is a violation of the First Amendment. All taxpayers have the right to address all grievances. So we need to reword this to reflect that, because I'm sure you didn't mean to violate anybody's First Amendment right. Thank you.
Mr. Valenta.
I object. I'm sure that comes to no surprise of the board. I object to the replacement of the following statement. The standards for the selection of instructional materials shall include these established by Florida Statute 1006.342B, standards for selection, and the Lee County School Board, utilizing the recommendations of teachers, administrators, parents, and community members, with the following. Parents of a student currently enrolled in the Lee County School District may submit a complaint or objection. Use of any instructional material in his or her child's classroom. You can't have it both ways. You can't be for public schools, but against the public. If you don't want public comment, close public schools. You can't have one without the other. Teachers, parents, students, grandparents, guardians, community members, and citizens all have a stake in what education these kids get. Some kids aren't being raised by parents. They're being raised by others, family members or friends of family, some of whom aren't the legal guardian. Every citizen has a First Amendment right to file a complaint. Also, this means that I can't object this year to the books that my daughter will be using next year, because she's currently not in that class. So it stops me. It's no good to complain about the book or educational material next year once it's already being taught, once it's already in her head. You can't undo that. Thank you.
Patty Lochner.
Take your time, Patty.
No running.
We're not going anywhere.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Graham, Mr. Martin. For the record, my name is Patty Lochner, and I'm vice chair of the School Board Curriculum Advisory Committee. And the chair was unable to be here tonight because he is ill. But this Curriculum Advisory Committee has a recommendation for this School Board Policy 2.18. During our February 16th meeting, the CAC reviewed the Lee County School Board's policy pertaining to the ability of parents to file objections with the district regarding the instructional materials used in the classroom. After much discussion and debate, the CAC proposes the following amendments to the board's policy language. I would also like to point out that it was not a unanimous vote. The CAC recommends to the board the following changes. That lines 62 and 117 in the board's policy state that parents and any citizen of Lee County have the opportunity to file an objection to instructional materials currently in use and to those that have been recently adopted through the process. It is the position of the CAC that all tax-paying citizens of Lee County have a vested interest in ensuring the children of this district receive the best education possible, and therefore the CAC believes all citizens of Lee County should be able to exercise their right to free speech and debate when it comes to the materials used to educate our children. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Angie Salander.
Okay, I also came to talk about policy 2.18. I think all of the citizens should be allowed to have some
Hold
input.
on just a minute, Ms. Helms. Please turn on the microphone. Try again.
Policy 2.18, I think all citizens should be allowed to have some input on what we are teaching our kids. So I would like to see that changed. I also was a little confused on it. I don't know a lot about the policies. I'm still learning myself. But I read it, and I actually had a complaint about the wonderful Go Math book. So I had I thought I had to fill out a form, and I received an email back saying I actually have to send a written letter to my principal at this time, but this new policy was coming up for vote today, and I was actually given the form that was coming up for vote today. So I was a little confused. I'm like, okay, I had asked prior to this being voted on, but asked to fill out a form, which I had to review the entire book before filling out the form. It takes my kid an entire year to go through this book, one page a day. So I thought that was a little bit much, and I thought maybe with parents, maybe some consideration could be taken into effect that we do get these papers home every day. We see what the kids are being taught, how they're being taught, and the problems. So maybe we can come with some kind of solution other than sitting there and going through an entire book. Seeing it is, I think, more proof than just going and reading something. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori Fahey.
Good evening, Lori Fahey. I'm also speaking on 2.18. I don't like the revisions at all. I think that we need to have community involvement and input in this. One of the reasons is that I have complained about the same Go Math book for the last 3 years. And if you revise 2.18, I wouldn't be able to continue complaining about that book. But I'm also concerned that in all the conversations I've had about that math book, no one ever told me that policy 2.18 existed and that I could file a formal complaint. And that should concern all of us. All parents should be told if they complain about a book that there is a policy and here's how you take care of it. So, thank you.
Tara Jenner.
Good evening, Board. That's going to sound a little bit redundant, but 2.18, specifically the paragraphs dealing with line.
Wait a minute.
Do we have volume now? There we go. Again, 2.18, and I'm dealing with the same lines, 62 and 117. And again, my concerns also follow those that have been mentioned. Specifically that individuals who are coming up in the schools don't have an option of discussing material that their child would be subjected to in future years. As many of you know, I do home educate, but I know the homeschool community, sometimes they have financial situations, death in the family, same thing with private schools that require them to subsequently place their children in a public school situation, and many of the individuals that I know that are elderly are paying taxes. And I know that from history, one of the things that our country has an issue with is taxation without representation. And when you look at the actual SB written by the state level, it talks about public hearings, and there's no limitation. So we cannot limit that even further. So those are some things that I had looked at. I did hear from Ms. LaRiviere earlier today, and I appreciated that conversation, to let me know the recommendations that might be forthcoming from the review committee. I think that adding in the Citizens of Lee County is a little redundant. Get rid of the parents and citizens, because the parents better be citizens. Although there are some parents that may be out of the area as well. But it may, as pointed out previously, not just be parents. It may be parents, guardians, and interested parties. So I would just bear that in mind. It needs to be fairly broad, because bluntly, anyone who's willing to come forward at a public hearing is very vested in the outcome of the children. And even as a taxpayer, I have a vested interest, but also I employ people that come through this system. And I go to shops and other businesses where people are employed that come through the system. And I also want to ensure that they get a wonderful education as best as possible through the public system. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bonnie Margolin.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan, Lee County School Board, for this opportunity. I'm Bonnie Kennard Margolin. I am a teacher and a parent here in the county and a member of the Teachers Association of Lee County. And same thing, I had very large concerns when I saw parent. For the same reason, we know with our students, identifying a parent at a parent pickup line, and I do that every day from 2:15 to 2:30, can be very difficult. There are many broad definitions of parenthood right now. And, I would like to think that, God forbid, if something happened to me and my parents would have to take over the care of my daughter, that they would have the right to come here and just grievance and speak regarding the curriculum. So I just started to go down the list, and aside from the many that come here so often and speak up about curriculum, and this is instruction, so I am assuming that since most of our instruction is testing, it includes that. It would limit people that you have taken advice and expertise from over the last year alone, just in here, people like Bob Schaefer from Fair Test, Kathleen Jasper from Conversation Ed, whose children are not yet in our school system. It would limit Senator Benequisto, who was here recently, and Representative Fitzenhagen from speaking, as well as many of you elected members of this board and our leadership as well. It would, on the unfortunate situation, limit the wonderful Miss Patty Lochner, who has been teaching most of us for all of her life, from speaking, as well as my own union president, who is not a parent. He would be limited on speaking on instruction. Miss Ware, who is an advocate for the have-nots and students everywhere and community members, it would limit them as well. And I don't think we quite realize that even the students, such as the ones Miss Ware brought with her recently to speak to you about curriculum and testing, would be limited by this line. So I'm hoping that you all fix this and we can move on with our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Quackenbush.
Good evening. It's 2.18 again. I had written a letter to all of you on many occasions about the problems of SB 864 and brought it to the attention of our staff, our superintendent, in August. Many of our citizens met with her, showing examples of books that were egregiously violating Florida's statute. And we advocated for immediate action. We are losing an entire year before any action is taken on this. And I would like to point out that we do need to take immediate action, because you can't unring that bell. This year's lost. Excuse me. There were several things that I know that you are probably acting on, and I just wanted to identify what they are. I hope you're acting on. And one of those is line 14, the first page identifies the materials to be reviewed are only for core subjects. And one of the problems we now have is that the subject materials are interwoven throughout all other subjects. So I think that it's important for us to review each and every kind of book that we have to make sure that it's compliant with Florida statute and the citizens' desires. The review process that was outlined in several instances does not have a timeline specific. When we make a complaint and we file it at a certain date, there should be a date specific at which a response is delivered to the complainant. And that's missing in several cases. Line 74 to 87 does not specify a time frame. Without a time and not to exceed time, the review process is ineffective. Line 97 shows allows only 20 days prior to adopting new books and materials for public review. With these books being over 1,000 pages in many cases, this is not adequate time for us to review them. And of course, with the number of books that are being adopted at the same time, it makes it virtually impossible to do an adequate job of reviewing. So I think that it's important for us to extend this time as long as possible in advance of the selection of textbooks to perhaps 30 to 45 days minimum acceptance. Line 100 does not specify again the number of days as public notice required. Line 125 to 128 allows a 7-day notice for hearing on a complaint. This is not long enough for scheduling and preparing for the complainant, who sometimes has schedules of their own, work schedules and the like. So I think it should be at least 14 days allowed for a complainant to prepare for their hearing on a textbook. Thank you for considering these changes now. Thank you for including us. These are very important, and I would urge more swift action in the future. When the legislature acts, we are then required to follow the law, not a year later. Thank you very much for your time.
Dr. Graham, would you read the recommendation again, please? I'm sorry, the first one, 2.18.
I recommend board approval of the revisions to policy 2.18 instructional materials to include standards for the selection of instructional materials as required in Senate Bill 864. The effective date of this revision shall be Wednesday, February 25th, 2015.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Dozier. Second?
Hey, can I do a second for discussion?
By Ms. La Riviere. Discussion.
I know that at our committee meeting, we discussed making the changes. Mr. Martin was referring back to the... Am I okay? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Mr. Martin, during our Curriculum Advisory Committee meeting, was referring to the statute, and it is, correct me if I'm wrong, it is my understanding that on line 62, where it said parents of students, that's what was given to the district to follow, correct, from the state?
That is the requirement of the statute, yes.
Okay. So when this was written, it was written following the requirement of the statute. We can expand that, and that's what the Curriculum Advisory Committee was wanting to do. We can, and I would like to see us move forward with that, so it's a broader statement. It could either write it out to say any citizen of Lee County. In the past, it was just stated out as any objection, but I believe if we have it as any citizen of Lee County, any parent or citizen of Lee County, we're going to have a hard time. If it's a citizen of Lee County and they're not a parent, we're fine. But if they're a parent and they don't reside in Lee County and they have that right of not supervising, but it's their child, so they still have the right whether they're a citizen of Lee County or not. So we were thinking of, that's why we thought of having it say the parent and any citizen of Lee County.
Mr. Martin wanted to interject something, and Mrs. Dozier has a comment.
Well, if I may, first let me address the comment made by Ms. La Riviere. Yes, the requirement of the statute is that parents of students currently enrolled in the school district have the opportunity to submit that complaint. When we use the term parents, of course, the statute defines that as including guardians, anyone really who is standing in the position of being a parent. And it is not unusual. We have many situations where there is a parent residing in Lee County who has the child in terms of that child residing at their home, but there's also a parent who has full parental rights that may live in another state. And that parent, of course, needs to also have that opportunity. And if I may, I would like it might be helpful for clarification to walk through the policy and explain to you the different opportunities that are provided for members of the public to provide input on this process. If the board believes that would be helpful.
I think it would be.
Please.
All right. There are basically 4 steps in this process. The first step is a public hearing to review instructional materials that are being considered for adoption as part of the instructional materials plan for that next school year. Before the public hearing is held, there has to be an opportunity for the public, any member of the public, to review the instructional materials that are under consideration for adoption. And then a public hearing is held. At that public hearing, any member of the public can address an objection to items that are being considered for adoption into the instructional materials plan. Public hearings are just that. Any member of the public has the opportunity to address the issues under consideration in that public hearing, and there's no language in the policy that limits that opportunity for comment by the public. After the public hearing is held, the school board has the opportunity to provide some direction to the superintendent with respect to any materials that were discussed. And then the statute requires that the annual instructional materials plan be brought back to a subsequent meeting, to a subsequent public meeting as an agenda item. At that point, it would be placed on the agenda for adoption by the school board. Of course, now that it's on the agenda for adoption by the school board at that subsequent meeting, there would be another opportunity for public comment by anyone from the public, not limited to parents. So those are 2 opportunities for public comment, public input from anyone with respect to the instructional materials under consideration for adoption. Now, after adoption of that instructional materials plan, the statute requires and the policy would provide for an opportunity for parents, that's the requirement of the statute, to submit a written objection on a form provided by the school district to any materials that were adopted as part of that plan. So that's that 3rd step. In the event that any objections are submitted, and they have to be submitted within 30 days after the adoption of the plan, if any objections are submitted by parents of students presently enrolled in the district, then the board has to hold another public hearing to hear those objections. This is another public hearing. Certainly the parents who submitted those objections can speak to the board, but so can any other member of the public because, again, it's a public hearing. So that's a 3rd opportunity for input by anyone from the public. Another requirement of the statute, and this is step 4, which existed before Senate Bill 864, was the opportunity for a parent to submit a complaint concerning materials presently in use in that student's classroom. The bill, Senate Bill 864, did not change that requirement of statute. That's still required to be in place. There was reference to a complaint being filed with the principal. That is the procedure for filing a complaint with respect to instructional materials presently in use in a classroom. The initial step is to file that complaint with the principal. The last step of that process is for there to be a review by the superintendent. That process never gets to the school board under the present policy or under the policy revision that's now being proposed to you.
Thank you. Board members, Mr. Teuber. Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Dozier was next in line.
Well, I was just simply going to try to offer something, and anytime the Senate or the House comes up with any type of legislation, we've got to have that level of expectation, but it's my understanding that anything above that level of expectation is perfectly fine. And I think for clarification and to relieve some of the stress that this is and angst that this has created, I think that we should underline 62, change the language to say, and I would ask Mr. Martin, would we have to have, because I don't know if this is a substantive change, I don't know if we would have to have another public hearing on this. I don't think we would, but you're the guru, so. Interested parties, citizens of Lee County and the Lee County School District may submit a complaint or objection. So you're going to strike through parents of students currently enrolled in Lee County, and you're going to be inclusive and put interested parties, citizens of Lee County, may submit a complaint or objection. So is that enough that we would have to have another public hearing if we made those changes?
No, and yes, it is a substantive change, but in this situation, you're not taking away a right, you're adding a right, so there wouldn't really be a substantial interest affected leading to a right to challenge. If I may make a suggestion, I think maybe the simple language that could be added for that purpose is just to say, and any citizen of Lee County.
Well,
Parents of students currently enrolled in Lee County School District and any citizen of Lee County. But of course, that's your motion, Mrs. Dozier.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Toiber.
Ms. Dozier, I like the fact, when you say any interested party, and it will go through the different things, but both on line 62 and 117, we're trying to get the best curriculum that we have. And so, there's some Germans that come over that live in Cape Coral that aren't citizens, but they're privy to an educational system that we're not, they may have some experience. There may be somebody else who's coming, it's an illegal alien on immigrant. I don't care who they are, if they've got some input that they want to talk about how to make our public educational system better, I believe they need to have a voice. And I don't want to limit it to citizens, I don't want to limit it to parents, I don't want to limit it to non-parents. If you've got an interest in making our public education system, I don't want to make it, because again, we can revisit this if all of a sudden we get inundated. I just don't see that happening. I just don't see a whole lot of people lining up the door. We've got people that are here that are interested, and I thank them for that. And we've got a handful, and that's a big number as far as I'm concerned, and that's great. And I hope every one of them take that time, and we'll talk about some time frames so that they can get the opportunity. We need as many people as we can that are willing to do this, and I don't want to limit it by some limiting language that says that they can't speak because, for example, their child's not in the right grade, but he's going to be. And I also don't want to, we'll get down to the adoption period. You may not realize you're doing something, and halfway through the year, you're looking at the material's been adopted, your child's in 8th grade, and the adoption for 9th grade's already been adopted, and so you're already going to 9th grade. All of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, this halfway through the year, one of her friends shows you some things that's crazy. Oh, you get to see this next year, and you're like, oh, heck no. Well, you missed your time window. Well, anytime you got a problem, there needs to be a process to say, I got a problem, and it's got to go through a chain, and I don't want it to go through an arduous chain, and I don't want to create a whole lot of work for the district, but the books are so comprehensive, and there's, boxes on the right, boxes on the left, and footnotes here, and footnotes there. You don't know what you don't, you go through these books, and it is literally one page at a time when you're looking at this stuff. And so anytime somebody finds something, they should be able to get on our webpage, fill out a form, and say, I need some clarification. And if we get our process down right, that they can answer those questions, we can, again, you can address those issues on, even if we do on the website, different books have, frequently asked questions, and it can go down so you can see if that question's been asked before, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and people can look, can do a parser search on our web. There's got to be ways to do it efficiently, but for us not to take every opportunity to make the best material possible, especially with all the things that we've seen are trying to get brought into our schools, I think to us we're just asking for trouble.
So you were suggesting?
So I'm suggesting that we make the language in line 62 and 117 to say any interested party, period.
Citizens of Lee County, parents or guardians may submit a complaint or objection, and so forth.
Yeah, but objection to the selection or the use. We crossed out selection or the use. I want to say I want to keep the use in there too. It doesn't have to be just the selection. If it's already in we're using it, and
Two different places. So in this part, on line 62, it's for curriculum that's already in place and been done.
Correct.
So that's why they removed the selection.
Selection.
Because the selection part is then going to be taken care
Oh,
of
okay,
in line
inside,
in the
okay,
next
okay.
section.
And then the same thing, but in his or her child's classroom, you know, it doesn't matter if it's in my classroom, if I'm going to do it in 2 years, or if my kid already went through it, and all of a sudden now I'm looking at it because it's still sitting on the, you know, he's getting ready to return it, and I go, wow, we really bombed on that one, and we start looking through. I don't know. I'm just saying is we want every opportunity for everybody to look at it and not use limiting language that all you're doing is you're losing an opportunity for somebody that's probably smarter than we are to not give them their input. And I just don't want to. I just don't want to do that.
Well, a question. If we're saying somebody who's a citizen of Lee County, if they're a citizen of Lee County, they live here.
No, but there's Germans, there's the illegal immigrants, we have people on E2 visas, we got all sorts of people that.
Okay, well, I guess I think of all of those as citizens of Lee County because they reside here. So compared to United States citizen.
Madam Chair, I'd
which
like to
is-
offer an amendment to the motion.
Go ahead.
I would like to offer an amendment to the main motion that will read, any interested party, comma, citizen of Lee County, and parents or guardians may submit a complaint or objection to the use of any instructional material in any classroom, period.
I have a motion.
Would you want the same change as to line 117? Is that intention, Mrs. Dozier, or is it? I'm
Well,
sorry to
I
interrupt.
was immediately saying 62 is where I'm reading from.
One at a time.
One at a
Well,
time.
I mean, but I am fine with going through, because this is actually in here several times, and I can amend my motion to say that, and everywhere that this occurs, you would have the same language in, to be inclusive of parents, citizens, guardians, and,
Interested parties.
yes, interested parties.
So second.
Okay, a second to the amendment. Martin.
If I could just provide some advice on that.
Okay.
To make the language, I'm sorry, you may have already stated this, Mrs. Dozier, but just to be sure that we're clear, the wording "in his or her child's classroom" would have to be removed.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, we removed that. We said in any classroom
Yes,
is
ma'am.
what it read.
And if you read through the process that begins on line 62, the first complaint is to the principal of the school, which may need some clarification if we're dealing with someone who is not a parent filing that complaint.
Fine. You should still.
Can we say the school principal or the designated school representative? In other words, either, you know, wherever that textbook is, it's going to be the principal's auspice, and they can assign somebody, or they can actually even refer it to the district if they so choose.
It can be the district representative.
Or
that would
district
be on
representative,
the-
you want to take it up to central. If they're not a district, rather than belabor the resources of a particular school, if they don't belong, if a student doesn't reside in that school, should go to the district. Is that?
Well, or if it's just a citizen who doesn't have a child. It could be, I was even just thinking the complainant shall submit a letter to a school principal or other district designee.
May I suggest it says "and/or designee," and we can create a process
Okay.
for principals.
Yes, within 10 days, the principal and/or designee will meet. Okay. So, Dr. Graham, so the part where it says the complainant shall submit a letter to the school principal?
I don't know, Mr. Martin's looking funny at me, so I'm going to let him.
Well, yeah, the first dictate is that the complainant shall submit a letter to the school principal outlining objections to the material in question. That's at line 65, 66. Would the desire be to amend that to add "or a designee at the district level"?
It says, I'm sorry, it says.
The school
"and/or designee."
principal or a district-level designee.
I'm sorry, I read one line down. It says to submit the letter to the school principal with the objection, but somebody has to meet with that person within 10 school days, and that's where it says principal and/or designee.
Okay.
So I think, I don't know that it matters if the letter goes to the principal, we'll create a process. What do you do with that letter?
Yes, that's fine. I think the principals
That's
will know
okay.
what to do.
All right, no change.
Go to
I'm fine.
any
Thank you.
elementary school, Lori.
Can I ask you, Mr. Martin, please, to restate the motion?
As I understand it, we have a motion on the floor, the main motion, of course, to adopt the recommendation from the superintendent. And now we have a motion to amend, to revise lines 62 and 117, to change the wording to state that any interested party, any parent or citizen of Lee County, may submit a complaint or objection to the use of any instructional material in any classroom in the district. Now, when you get over to 117, the wording would be somewhat different, but it's the same parties that have that opportunity to submit the objection to instructional materials that have been selected, adopted in the annual instructional and materials plan.
Well, I'm going to make a motion to the motion.
Okay.
Because I'm going to, while we're making the amended motion, if Ms. Dozier will indulge me up to line 13 to change the definition of instructional materials
113?
to line 13. My motion is to change that to say, as used in this policy, instructional materials are defined as materials that serve as the basis for instruction for any student in the Lee County school system, period. If it's instruction and it's in our system, it's subject to this rule. We don't limit it to just core subjects.
Mr. Martin?
The wording serve as the basis for instruction is intended to mean the primary instructional material, the nature of a textbook for lack of a better term. So is that the intention?
But I want to, and again, not to have to redo a notice, I want to expand it to say more materials, because I don't want just the textbooks. I want any literary handouts, any supplements. If there's something that they're giving that's not, that it's objectionable. I mean, you can have a textbook, but you could have a handout or a supplement or something that's coming off the internet or coming up from somewhere. Who knows where the source is, but it's objective to a parent. They need to have that. So we need to have a process, because otherwise there's going to be nowhere for them to go, and there's also going to be we'll have no control and no local control, outside of the textbooks. Anything else a teacher wants to bring in, we as a board are relegating that authority that teachers can bring in anything they want that may or may not be objectionable to parents, and we would have no mechanism upon which to stop that.
I understand. And the change that you would want to make, sir, if you want to include all materials, not just those that act as the textbook, would be to change that language concerning serve as the basis for instruction.
Correct.
Okay. That's not what I understood in your first expression, but maybe I missed it.
Just to note, if you look up in the paragraph just above that, we had already removed the word textbook and put instructional materials, so it covers anything that may be used in the classroom.
But only in the way, paragraph 13 through 15 only says only in core mathematics, language arts, social studies, science, reading, and literature.
And that's the part where we want to do in all subject matter.
Right.
That's where there was confusion.
Oh. Yes.
If I may explain, yes, I understand. As it reads right now, it is with respect to instructional materials for core courses. It's also with respect to the instructional material that serves as the basis for instruction. So if you're going to expand it to all courses, and you wish it to include all materials, not just limited to textbooks, then the language that states serve as the basis for instruction would also need to be removed.
Well, for example, on here, foreign language is not on here. ESOL classes are not on here. Health and physical education are not listed. And I think what the intent of the citizens of the community is that it wouldn't be just the math, language arts, science, social studies, science, reading, and literature, but they want to be able to have they need to have the input in those other subject areas as well.
Please understand, I'm not advising against the amendment.
Okay, I'm just
I'm just
confused.
trying to explain what needs to be accomplished.
All right, gotcha.
If I may, if I may provide the
confused.
advice, I think it might be simpler and less confusing to deal with the First Amendment
And then go on to the
and then look to another amendment if that's desired before we get back to the main motion.
I'll withdraw my amendment.
Okay.
just one.
So we're back to the motion to amend to revise line 62 and 117 concerning the rights to object.
So sorry. Which says, any interested party, citizen of Lee County, parents and guardians may submit to a principal or district designate any, I've lost any instructional materials, any materials, any classroom materials. Is that right?
In any classroom.
Right.
Instructional material in any classroom.
Any classroom.
Might as well just say any classroom materials, because that would include instructional.
I think if we just left it off where we had it before, where it just said instructional material, period, then it leaves it open.
Okay. Well, you all,
The only reason the in his or her child's classroom was added was because of the state statute.
can we read this one more time, just to make sure we're all clear? Any?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The motion to amend is to revise line 62 and 117. Revising line 62 to read that any interested party, a citizen of Lee County, or any parent or guardian of a student currently enrolled in Lee County School District may submit a complaint or objection to the use of any instructional material in any classroom in the school district.
Okay.
And then the wording would be changed at 117. Also to state that any interested party, any citizen of Lee County, any parent of a student currently enrolled in the Lee County School District, and then the remaining language may file a petition, so on.
Okay. Is there more discussion? Then let's take a vote on the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
I'll let you take this one. You have a better grasp of it.
What?
Sorry, I should have shut up. So I would like to make a motion that on lines 13, 14, and 15, that there be amendment with input from Mr. Martin. As used in this policy, instructional materials are defined as materials that serve as the basis for instruction for each student in the subject areas,
In all courses.
in all courses. Now, that's where I need your input.
Okay. Again, that would be, the wording that you're using would be limiting the objection to the primary source for instruction, meaning the textbook.
Okay, well, I didn't change anything
I think,
in that
and
line.
he knows that, and so keep that language the way it is, and say, so as used in this policy, instructional materials are defined as materials, as any material within any course, I guess. That would be pretty broad. Yes, I know, Doc, that's giving Dr. Graham a headache.
Well, and I'll tell you why, because I'm looking down at what the process is then. So if you say any materials, the basis for instruction, I interpret as, I know Mr. Martin's saying textbook, the supplementals that come with, and when we adopt, you get all those extra things. So I get that. But if we say all instructional materials, that would mean every time a teacher wants to give a handout, they'd have to go down here and 20 days in advance. I mean, we've just stopped anything outside of the textbook and supplemental materials.
Board, maybe, can we then instead look at narrowing or broadening the scope when we have in other words, when there's in other words, not through the adoption process, in other words, to allow teachers to use whatever they want, but if somebody finds something objectionable, then they can object to anything that's in a classroom of any form through that objection format?
Well, I would tell you that happens now. If there's an objection to something a teacher gives out, they file a complaint, and that's, I'm going to tell you, 90% of the time, that's probably dealt with right at the school level, because oftentimes the principal's just as surprised as the parent about something that's been given out. So there is a process for that. But you're right, what you were saying was making me very nervous.
I guess my part that I'm confused about is that it's in this section, it's talking about all of the policy, which also includes we're getting ready to adopt other instructional materials that are not listed here. And so that's where I guess we were coming from.
Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
As written, the only instructional materials that would come to the school board for review and approval are those that serve as the basis for instruction for each student in those core courses. Now, if the board would like to continue that limitation with respect to the adoption process, but provide the ability to object to any instructional material that is actually used in a classroom, there could be a different definition added at section 2. No, I'm sorry. I'm not helping.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Board members, I think the purpose of this policy was for adoption of core courses. This was directed at the whole local control versus Common Core thing, and I think this policy, as it stands for the instructional material and the supplements, provides that pursuant to what the statute legislative intent. So I would propose that we push this through, make this go the way it is. I think what we need to do is follow up with a policy of when there's anything in our school system that there's an objection to put that in some type of either policy or even not even I'm okay not even with a policy, but a process that's published so that the public knows that there's a process and we know there's a process, and so that everything that's out there in the public that you don't approve of, there is a process to go through, and up to the point of if you don't get the resolution at the school level, you can bring it to the board. So there's a policy for anything, whether it be a handout, having to watch a video, whatever it may be, there's a process to do that. But this, I think we're going to get ourselves really caught up, and we're diverting from this was the whole local control versus federal imposition, and I think this covers us with our core classes. And I think the things that are being currently anything that's snuck into a classroom, that we'll have a process to address that. Like Dr. Graham says, that's already kind of not even a formalized process, but it's out there because I know I've experienced it. So, but I think we need to formalize that. So I think, board, that would allow us to have Dr. Graham come back later with that position.
Am I hearing you say that we're withdrawing all amendments at this point and
my
we're going
recommend-
back to the original motion made by
13 to 15 stays the same. No, we're still saying. I mean that we've already approved the two things as far as who can complain. Everybody gets to say.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We're just not going to forward with anything else.
Okay. Any more discussion? And this is on the original motion, correct?
On the main
As
motion,
amended.
As amended, yes.
Yes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Dr. Graham?
Sorry.
That's okay.
I was sitting here trying to think how the process is going to go, and okay. I recommend board approval of the creation of policy 4.141, hazing to comply with section 1006.135 Florida statutes, which was amended during the 2014 legislative session to require each school district in the state to adopt a policy that prohibits hazing and provides consequences for a student who commits an act of hazing. The effective date of this revision shall be Wednesday, February 25th, 2015.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Teuber, seconded by Ms. LaRiviere. Discussion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
I recommend board approval of the revisions to policy 5.04, fingerprinting and background screening, to comply with statutory requirements and to be consistent with the district processes and procedures. The effective date of this revision shall be Wednesday, February 25th, 2015.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Mrs. Dozier, supported by Mr. Teuber. Discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. The next item on the agenda is non-agenda public comment. Mr. Martin, would you please address the agenda item of non-agenda public comment?
All of the rules that I stated before still apply at this point. The subject to comment is limited to items not on this evening's agenda. Time allowed per speaker is 3 minutes. Our first speaker this evening is Councilman Johnny Streets.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Madam Superintendent, Mr. Attorney, and people here who tonight. I'm not coming representing the city of Fort Myers as a whole, but I'm representing East Fort Myers, basically Ward 2, in regards to informing you all of a situation at 3331 East Riverside Drive, 3331 East Riverside Drive, which is near Edgewood Elementary. The problem that we're having, and we're asking the constituents of that ward, has asked that I advise the school board, particularly the person that represents that area, and I believe that might be you, Mr. Teuber, in regards to the operation of a drug rehab center in that particular area. They are opposing it. The Sovereign Healthcare and Florentine Holding is the subjects of the discussion here tonight in regards to possibly opening up illegal. You have students, as I've stated earlier, in the school system in that area. Not only that, you have older residents who've been living in that area for over 50 years. There have been some concerns of law enforcement with ongoing traffic back and forth. They're not against drug rehab centers. They're against it in their community, especially when the applicants didn't go through the process through the city. So the city is in negotiations now to cease and desist order by the code enforcement. There will be a hearing March 12th at City Hall, but the constituents want me to speak to you all to make you aware of what's happening and asking for their support that this is not allowed to be in that community near our school.
What time on March
I'll
12th?
get you the exact time. I want to say 1 o'clock, but I don't want to hold you to that. But we'll, if you would allow me, Madam Chairman, to correspond with any of you, and particularly School Board Member Teuber, to give you constant updates on that. But I wanted to come tonight to make you aware of what's going on in that area, and the parents and homeowners or interested parties in that area are asking you to monitor this and support them. So with that, I appreciate my time. Thank you.
And we would appreciate your keeping us abreast of developments.
Not a problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Streets.
Next speaker is Ms. Bonnie Kennard Margolin.
Thank you, Mr. Martin, Lee County School Board, Dr. Graham, for this opportunity again to speak to you tonight. Again, my name is Bonnie Kennard Margolin. I am a parent here of a 5th grader, and I am an 8th grade language arts ELA writing teacher, and I am also a member of the Teachers Association of Lee County. 1 week from today, my daughter will sit down for her 5th grade ELA FSA air test writing exam. and I am informing you that she will not be taking that exam. I understand that it is your responsibility through statutes to administer that to her, and I understand that. It is not her responsibility actually to take it. I do have communication from the Department of Education, and they have given me full instructions on how to have her complete for an NR2, and she will be doing that. But here is my concern. I don't think, one, that she's going to be the only one. I know that there are quite a few parents, who are planning to have their students do that, and as a teacher, I'm concerned as well. So today I went to my FSA training, and I got my, and it's not secured, I double checked before I brought it, my unsecured instructional manual, and nowhere in here does it give us any instructions as to what to do with these students. And I'm very concerned because it's asking me, bless you, to write down my certification number. It's got information on here that makes notification that there could be invalidation issues, not regarding an NR2, but that's scary that I have to put my certification number down. I have to hear information about misdemeanors and felonies. And I know that doesn't pertain to my choices with my daughter, but if another student does that in my classroom, I have no direction on what to do, and that's a concern. So that's my first. Second, I'm so thankful the governor did what he did, but I have parents of students and teachers at 11th graders at schools who still don't know if they're even taking or administering the test next Tuesday. So if we could get some clarification there. And thirdly, I know I saw in that governor's soon-to-be order that it said recommendations to the districts to stop progress monitoring and those things, and you know I've been on that for a long time, and so I'm hoping that now we can finally get some closure there. Finally, my daughter's 5th grade exams that she's given by the districts after each concept test, those grades are going in the grade book. On the last one she made a 52, the county average was in the 50s. That brought her grade down to an F, and it has sat there. I do not think that those should go in the grade book. We do not put them in the grade book at the middle school nor high school level, so I have an equity issue with how my daughter's being treated as compared to how she'll be treated next year. So I would very much like for you all to look into those 3 issues. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Mr. Kevin Regal.
I would like to thank board members Pamela Riviere and Jeannie Dozier for offering to meet with me regarding the serious issues that I have brought up for months now, with no action from the superintendent or her administration. The issue here is that we should not have to be doing the job that is the superintendent's responsibility. During my time at Lehigh Senior High, I witnessed or fell into the middle of scenarios that put students and athletes at risk. Despite being told to remain silent about these issues, I have a code of ethics as a teacher that I swore to uphold. I brought these issues forward involving John Solak, who is still employed by the district. I uncovered that he was on his probationary period as a teacher when he drove around athletes on a revoked license. I do not understand, or did not at the time, why my athletic director and the principal at Lehigh, Jackie Corey, told me to remain quiet about this. I uncovered that John Solak is the son of a former Cypress Lake High School teacher who was your employee, Nancy Graham, while you were principal there. He would have been fired by the district and probably rearrested. To me, it looks that in taking no action, you are covering for friends and their family. Worst of all, the families do not know that their sons or daughters were put in harm's way. Who should we fire first? A few months later, I witnessed a para being put in a classroom illegally. I was instructed by the math department head and Principal Jackie Corey again to never discuss this. This was the second unethical and illegal matter that Principal Corey demanded that I never bring up. The education of 100 students was stolen from them. I witnessed an AP being moved to Fort Myers. I witnessed the math chair be rewarded for remaining quiet instead of helping bring this issue to light. Even Nikita Watson, who is currently the Lehigh Middle principal, had to sign off that the para was not the teacher of record, when in case, and everybody witnessed, the 100 students and other staff members and myself, that she was put under duress, and this is not true. In the meantime, the people directly under the superintendent would have been the first to solve these issues. Neither man did anything about it, both riddled with their own history of arrests and our convictions from the past. How can we as a district turn to them when this is the case? Nancy Graham, as a teacher, I offer you this challenge for all to hear. I am a homeowner and have a great teaching job, but I will A, stop coming to board meetings, B, resign from my teaching job, and C, sell my house if what I am saying is not true in regards to these 100 students having their education harmed, and second, with athletes driven around by a staff member on a revoked license. But if it is, and the proof is in the students themselves, then I call upon you to immediately resign your post as superintendent for failing to address and take action in these matters. For over a year and a half, you have taken no action, nor have you attempted to. This is how passionate I am for our students in this district to be protected. At least tell us that you were lied to this entire time. Tell us that your lawyer told you to remain quiet. Tell us something, otherwise I have no reason to ask for anything other than your immediate resignation. Thank you all for your time in this matter.
Next speaker is Ms. Michaela Quarles.
And student representative. My name is Michaela Quarles. On June 5th, 2013, I was involved in a domestic violence situation with my now ex-husband that left me extremely beaten and bruised. Looking for support, I packed up myself and my 8-month-old son and went to the only person I knew I could trust for support. That person was my former teacher. My ex showed up, and this teacher protected me and safeguarded me. When officers arrived, they mistook this teacher for the perpetrator and arrested him. He was not only innocent, and he was never charged with the arrest, and the arrest was expunged. My former teacher is Mark Jones, South Fort Myers High School's veterinary science teacher and Lee County's Teacher of the Year. It has come to my attention because of statements posted on social media. Mark is not being formally recognized in this setting as Teacher of the Year, and that application was not sent on for state-level consideration. This is a travesty, as he is not only an excellent teacher, but an honorable man. He is unwilling to share the details of that night because he continues to protect myself and my son. He did not want me to come here tonight at all, but considering the facts, I not only owe this to him, but it is the right thing to do. I apologize and regret for not speaking out sooner on his behalf. I am doing so now as he has protected me, and now it is my turn to protect and help restore his reputation. I respectfully request the entire school board and superintendent forward his application to the state level with an explanation and request that they consider his late entry. Mark Jones deserves his Teacher of the Year award, not only because he is an exemplary teacher, but because he is a real hero. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to set the record straight.
Next speaker is Ms. Tara Brenner. Tara Jenner, excuse me. It's my reading.
I would like to start off by saying I hope that Mary Fisher is on the mend and hope to see her soon. I would also like to acknowledge the recent retirement of a longtime school teacher here in the district, and that's Roberta Henderson, known to those of us in the homeschool community as Bobby. I know she recently retired and she'll be leaving the area, and I just wanted to congratulate her on her many years of service and thank her for all she did for us in the homeschool community. I also have invitations for all the board members, the superintendent, Mr. Martin, the student, and anybody else who is listening and may be interested. I'll hand these to the secretary momentarily. The first thing that I would like to make mention is the fact that this Friday, February 27th at 6:30 at First Baptist Church of Cape Coral is a presentation by Dr. Duke Pesta, and the talk is called The Case Against Common Core, and this is an absolutely free event. It is being held, like I said, at the First Baptist Church at Cape Coral on Coronado Parkway. The second event is on Saturday morning, and that is with Chris Ann Hall. and she is talking about the Constitution and constitutional rights. That event is at no charge from Chris Ann Hall, but there is a $20 fee for lunch and for the facility. None of that goes to Miss Hall herself. And I encourage all of you to come to that, and I have invitations for the members. The third event that I would encourage everyone to consider is something called March for the Children, and this is on March 5th of this year, and it is to encourage everyone to go to Tallahassee and to talk with your legislature in order to be able to address the issues of Common Core and standardized testing, and specifically a bill that is being proposed that would assist us in eliminating some of the issues and concerns that have been raised quite frequently in this particular setting. If anyone would like additional information about any of these events, if they were to go to the FloridaCitizenAlliance.com website, or if they were on Facebook and they searched for Florida Citizen Alliance, they could obtain the necessary information and details on where to meet. There is, for the March for the Children, an option available possibly for busing as well. It's a one-day up, one-day back event. So I just encourage all of you to consider those, and I will leave these with the Secretary if that's acceptable, and I thank you very much for your time.
Last speaker by card is Ms. Melissa Giovanelli.
Thank you, Superintendent. My daughter is also not going to take the testing next week or whenever it is in the next few weeks, and I'd like to know what the policy and procedure is in that for my daughter to refuse taking the test, and that's coming up in the next few weeks, and it alarms me because I don't know what to do. I do not want any retaliation for my child. As a parent, I have the right to refuse this test for my child. I cannot wait for legislature, and the testing is around the corner. I'm afraid for my daughter's teachers, as they must not bully or get bullied if my child does not take this test. It is sad that we as a district has had to come to this at this point. My other questions is I would like to know, get some more information regarding what's going on with Kevin Regal's questions and information that he's provided with arrests and administration. And after listening to this one woman speak, a person gets arrested and is not always convicted. There's two different things. I'm not an attorney, so I'm a taxpayer, and I just want to know how someone gets arrested and has a history of getting arrested and continues to working for administration and staff in our schools and leaving our children unprotected. I think I see so much things unfair, and I think that is one of the biggest things I have a big problem with, discrimination, and because it becomes discrimination. And when someone gets fired because they are arrested, there has to be valid cause, and mistakes do happen. People get arrested by accident, but like I said, if there's a history of it, that's no accident. And we have to look into that deeper and find out why someone keeps getting arrested for something that's the same thing. And I don't care if it does get expunged, that doesn't mean they weren't guilty of it. You can get a lot of things expunged if you're not guilty. It doesn't even matter. And you can plead nolo contare or whatever it is. And so I think you have to get to the bottom of why someone continues or has a history of violence, domestic violence. If the NFL can fire somebody and take that stand, I think we as people need to take that same stand. And I don't believe that if you beat your wife and if you break in and enter, I don't believe that that is allowed and acceptable in a community that's over others, that has power over others, because that power can be taken out of control and used other ways. Perfect example, I believe that Tracy Perkins had the power taken away from her, and she quit because she was bullied. And I don't think that's right. And you can't, if you're going to lead by example, you better be setting that example. And the person that let her go and encouraged that didn't lead by example and doesn't. Thanks, and that's just my opinion.
Those are all the cards, Ms. Morgan.
Mr. Valena?
My daughter also won't be taking her testing next week for more than the obvious reasons that we're anti-testing. She will be attending the March for the Children event and be meeting with representatives up in Tallahassee. So she's going on a field trip. So hopefully that'll be good. Most of what I wanted to talk about tonight was the Dr. Duke Pesta and Chris Ann Hall events. I don't want to repeat everything that Tara Jenner said, but this is my last opportunity to urge the board to attend. It is this Friday and Saturday. So I'm just going to touch on just anything that maybe she skipped or didn't say. For the Dr. Duke Pesta, admission is free. She said that, but seating is limited. So please do come. It will fill up. Chris Ann Hall's, the name of it is The Roots of Liberty, the Genealogy of Our Constitution and Bill of Rights. And yes, that is $20, but that does include continental breakfast and catered lunch, and that fee does not go to Chris Ann Hall. The reservations for that are due tonight, though, because the numbers have to get into Gulf Coast Village. I believe Deborah Zakovich is still here in the back of the room. She's the one taking that. I had flyers also printed up, so I'm not going to duplicate, but if there's anyone in the audience that wants one, I have them for them. And I just wanted to say, you know, in the words of Ross Perot, because I came across an interesting Ross Perot saying, if you see a snake, you kill it. You don't form a committee on snakes. Common sore is a snake. Kill it. Thank you.
Mr. Fox?
Thank you once again, guys. I've been here all day. Starting out, Mr. Toiber, you mentioned earlier that your efforts with the legislature to get the 2.0 back on the capital funding didn't work. I appreciate your efforts, but I told you so. I do want to get back to the issues that's important to me. The special meeting today, the issue that you had with the employee went back and forth. Look at the manpower and the attorney's fees and all the things that went into this. And you look and you see that, once again, the debt, how much did it play a part in that? Each school, 129 schools in Lee County, loses $7,000 a week if you do it by school, not by student, because of the debt. Now, if that school where that incident occurred perhaps had that funding, maybe there would have been an extra teacher around, and this whole thing would have never happened. That was a decision that was made by this board, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, who knows? But once again, they committed to building schools without the proper financing in place, without getting the new money in place. That led to a situation down the road that turned into a big money loser, and it's just not a good situation all the way around. So I wanted to, the reason I'm bringing it back up is because I know on March 3rd you're having a workshop, and I just wanted to underscore the urgency with this issue. I bring it to you, and I continue to, I'm almost as relentless as those guys, because it just, everything this board does is affected in a negative way by this debt. We need to be a pay-as-we-go. You're going to buy a new piece of real estate in Bonita Springs, not cheap. Real estate's a game where people who have cash can play it a whole lot better than people who don't. And this district doesn't have any cash, except for the reserves, but you can't really spend that because of the debt. So thank you. Please keep that in mind. Don't let that issue with everything else that's going on. It is tantamount to getting this district back to full speed. The other thing, Common Core. I'm a little bit different. I got 4 kids, 2 that are mine and 2 that I raised that weren't. And one of them, the oldest, is the teacher in Collier County. And he teaches English out at Immokalee, and he's getting into administration. He likes Common Core. He's an English teacher. And last Wednesday, after the Finance Advisory Committee, my wife and I went for our Valentine's Day to Olive Garden, and our waiter was an English teacher at Riverdale, sharp guy. I mean, he came from Baltimore, taught in the inner cities. So we discussed Common Core quite a bit. He likes Common Core. He says it doesn't affect his ability to take the class where it needs to go, and his prerogative is preserved. And so I submit to you that not everything with Common Core is terrible. I'm sure, I'm talking English, maybe math, whatever. There's
Mr.
a lot
Fox,
to
your
like
time-
there. I do know that.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Your time's up, sir.
Ms. Fahey?
Did you start that early on me? Can we start over? Lori Fahey, and I'm here to speak about the testing. My son will be refusing the test. There are many teachers and parents that have written and called me the last several days especially. The schools don't know how to handle this. Parents don't know. And I sent you all a letter earlier today. I'm not going to read through all of it. We need you to make a decision, to speak with the community and figure out how to do this. We can, follow the protocol and have our kids get an NR2. We would be doing that to help our schools so that they have 95% participation. We don't have to do it that way if we're not being helped. I can just simply refuse the test. We've had several schools posting letters in our district, and they include the statement, if a student does not participate in the assessment program, the school district must notify the student's parents of such non-participation and provide parent with information regarding the implications of such non-participation. Please tell me now what the implications of such non-participation are, and please include the statute or policy number and the line item number of your source, because I can't find any. We don't ask our minors for their permission after a parent has refused sex ed or to go on a field trip, and we would never ask them to do that. So I don't understand how we can make the child refuse when they are a minor. They're not, legally they cannot consent or refuse. So I hope that we can work on this. I'm very upset that this was not on the agenda, and that is what I wanted to speak about before when I tried to slide into the good cause. So I'm hoping one of you will do that for me, for all of us. We need this to be discussed. We need it to be settled so that the children aren't damaged by this either or stressed out. My son had to step out. He's had enough of this meeting. So thank you. Please do something tonight, please. The next meeting won't be until the 17th, and testing begins next Tuesday.
Jerry Ware.
Madam Chair, school board members, our representative, Dr. Graham, thank you for the opportunity. Once again, it's about the have-nots. I don't even have to identify my cause. Well, anyway, I want to tell you thank you for the efforts that you have already exerted in an effort to help us turn around James Stevens. But I'm coming again to beg for something. Every time you see me, I'm asking for something. I'm asking that you would consider the method of enrollment for James Stevens. When you look at the map and how it's drawn for those kids to come to James Stevens, maybe I think we need to tweak that. So if you would visit that, I would appreciate it. Number two, we're going to be asking you to consider the time change, school time change. So we're going to be asking for that, and I'm sure that the principal there will be getting in contact with you, because at the last SAC meeting, I was not able to attend because of double duty, but I sent this spaghetti there, though, to encourage our parents to come. And I think our parents cannot oftentimes come because a lot of them, majority of them are from Lehigh. So we need to revisit that map, if you would please, to help us get our enrollment up by changing the boundaries some kind of way or another. But I really do want to tell you thank you. And last but not least, I asked in December to see the data reflecting what's going on there, and I've not received it yet. I don't know whether Mrs. Hayes has not had a chance to get it to me or not, but you have to be able to evaluate where you are in order at the end to see what progress we did make. So thank you once again for all of your efforts to assist me with helping the have-nots to have. Thank you, and have a good day.
Mary Orthodoxu.
My granddaughter will be opting out of the testing also. Back in late January, the board instructed Superintendent Graham to address that fact for parents that are opting the children out. You were very concerned about the money being wasted when a seal is broken on a test that a child is not taking. Well, as of yet, Nancy Graham has not addressed this with the schools. So we have testing in a week from now. What are we supposed to do as parents? So that is a very important issue. Now I'd like to discuss the presentation put on by the school board. With a man that works for a company that is backed globally by the UN and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to push out propaganda on the Common Core standards.
Something happened with the mic.
Sorry.
I would like to know how much that cost the taxpayers. That money should have been wisely used for the children that needed tutoring, for school material, for other things that the school is desperately in need of, this district is desperately in need of. Whoever approved this on the school board should be hanging their head in shame, because that was nothing but propaganda, one-sided. I was outraged, and I'm more outraged that we wasted money on that. That's all I need to say.
I'm going to respond to some of the comments that were made. First of all, Mr. Valenta, we do recycle, and I suggest that you talk to the superintendent, and she can tell you all about the process that we use to recycle equipment in this district. We use it first. No, we repurpose it within the district and use it within the district. But she can give you the details. Mr. Riegel, do you have your calendar with you? Okay, I would like you to stay after the meeting, please, and make an appointment with Dr. Pruitt and Dr. Graham, because it's my understanding that they have had enormous difficulty getting a hold of you. So I think if we can settle that tonight, we'll all be a lot happier. Well, I'm asking you to stay to make an appointment with them to address your concerns. And the rest I'm going to direct to Dr. Graham. I'm going to ask you, first of all, to address the issue of children who are choosing to opt out, because I know that you do have a process plan.
Received a letter from DOE, I want to say last week, that's going to be going to all the homes on Friday. And it was a conscious choice to wait to send it so that people could remember, because it's got dates and all that sort of thing. The children who opt out will be permitted to stay in their classroom and read while the other children are testing. And there is a webinar tomorrow with the principals to talk through the process. The reason teachers are concerned is because the commissioner has sent out some pretty clear, and Bonnie, I think, referred to it in the manual, the language is I want to say, it could be interpreted as threatening, that their certificate is at risk if they do anything that can be perceived to encourage a child not to take the test. So that's why the parent has to send a letter, or the child has to say, I'm not taking it. And then we are required, this is also from DOE, we are required then to call home and say, your child's chosen not to take the test, and here might be some of the consequences. And the consequences are about promotion at the high school level, graduation. So it's those kinds of consequences. There's no disciplinary action, but just to let them know. And in some cases, to be sure that the parents know the child has said, I know in this room, these parents, that they know that their child's going to opt out, but there could be that child out there that just says, I'm not going to take the test, and mom and dad have no idea. Yeah. So there's very clear language from DOE, and we are sharing that, but we're going to talk through it with the principals tomorrow so they can share it with the teachers so that everybody has the same information.
Thank you. Would you please just update us, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot like this, about the Teacher of the Year and the recognition and where we stand on that?
The Teacher of the Year, we initially we had a recognition scheduled, and we pulled it because of the negative press. It's been my intention to bring it back and put it on an agenda because there is a majority of the board, based on my own individual conversations, that believe that should happen. And so it didn't come this week, but because I didn't have a chance to go back to everybody and say this is what we think. We were trying to maintain the dignity of that employee, believe it or not, and we didn't put anything out there publicly. That all came from social media, and it became a media story without anybody really talking to us until after the fact. So he does a very good job in the classroom, or we would not have named him our Teacher of the Year. And so it is my intention, to bring him back for recognition by the board.
And the last thing I want to ask you with respect to Ms. Ware, I think it would be appropriate if someone could speak with her about the district map and about the time change. But my concern is about the data.
I'm not sure why that happened.
Yeah, that has got to happen, and we need to.
Well, I'll ask her. I'll talk to Ms. Ware, because the school has any data that we would have, and so I'm unsure why she just didn't get it through the school. So I'll have that. I will talk to her and see what the situation is.
And now I'm going to turn it over to board members for comment. Mrs. Dozier.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about the letter that came down from the Commissioner of Education. In fact, when I read the letter, I will say publicly that I was appalled by it, because it was very threatening to not only elected officials, but it was because superintendents are elected officials. Many of them are appointed superintendents, school board members, teachers, and for an appointed person to feel as though, and I'm sure that there was direction that came from somewhere, but I think that the language, again, was inappropriate. It was, I think, going outside of what the authority was of this individual. Now, this is Jeannie Dozier's personal opinion, and I certainly understand the rights of parents. I respect the rights of parents, and Dr. Graham did share with all of us that there is a plan, and that will be going out, as she said, to parents. And students will not be penalized if they don't take the test. And thank you for addressing everything. And board members, we had a good workshop, a very long day, but thank you for everything that we did today. We got a lot of work done.
Yep, thank you. Mr. Teuber.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll be brief. I know it's been a late meeting. First thing, Mr. Streets, I will get with Mr. Streets. He's in my district. One of the things I just want to throw out there, board, Mr. Streets is an elected official, and I know we have just something to think about, for public officials to speak to public officials. Do we, with our public comment, do we want to allow them to be in the even though it's a non-agenda item, to keep, something to think about, to give the respect of if a public official wants to address our board from another entity, to allow them to give some type of deference so they don't have to stay here, because they've got, again, they're serving the public as well, to keep them here to serve they're doing their job, staying here and going watching us do our job. It's just something to think about for consideration, maybe at a future date. But I will get with Mr. Streets as far as the issue over there on the that they're seeing over at Edgewood. For Ms. Ware, the enrollment, the data, I know Ms. Hayes has it because I have it, so I can get it to Ms. Ware. The time change, Dr. Graham's already spoken to us. It's, it's a safety issue, and we're trying to do it. And Mr. Bowen, I know you've already addressed it. We definitely appreciate that. We're going to see if we can do that so it's not disruptive to your district, to your school, that we might do it, at the next year, get through this. So, but it's definitely, we understand, and we'll do whatever we can to help you be successful. And now you have, staff now that's going to even help you more with that. So congratulations to that. I think that's all I really have. The issue on Mr. Valenta talked about the recycling. Our schools use the recycling stuff. There's really a great story. Dunbar continues to use our, scrap materials and so on, and there's really a good thing as far as that, what they're doing there. And I think that's all I got, except for board members. Today was a very productive workshop, and I'm really excited to see us starting to really work well together and move us forward.
Ms. LaRiviere.
I'm just going to be real brief and encourage those of you who are not already in a school, teaching, and involved, if you are able to volunteer or to mentor. We have some students in our schools who, when it's their night, on senior night, for parents to come and say wonderful words about their child, the parents aren't there. We have a lot of students out there that need some support. So, the foundation does have some great mentoring opportunities, and so I have a full folder with everything about it, but then also these flyers. If you get the folder, you get Marshall Bauer's phone number, and you can call him directly. But there are a lot of opportunities for mentoring. And what's nice about this is as you work with a student, if it's a student that does want to go on and does want to go to college, college will be paid for the child. It'll take care of through a community college degree first, the AA, and then go on to a 4-year. But I highly encourage, we need more and more people to get involved with our kids. And I'd appreciate it if any of you can.
Mr. Sperry.
I just want to say thank you for letting me sit on here for this meeting. I mean, you learn a lot more being part of it than just watching it. And I'm a little bit quiet person, kind of shy, so I didn't really speak out. But it was really fun and actually interesting to sit up here and learn about all the issues and everything. So thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. We really appreciate your presence. I have no comments. Mr. Martin.
I have none this evening, thank you.
Dr. Graham.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot one thing, and Dr. Graham, she worked extra hard to get me this information. Can I have one more thing? Today, I gave I hope some of the ROTC people are watching, and the people that left. Our ROTC program is amazing. And we had some awards here. We took first and second and third in our ROTC program, and it's just an amazing program. I just want to tell you a few things. In our ROTC program, we have in our 2014-15 year, we have 6,047 cadets in our school system. That's 27% of our high school students. We're the second largest ROTC program in the nation. That's amazing. And let me tell you what that does. 99.2% of our ROTC cadets graduate. 46.5% of them attend college. 23% of them attend vocational technical schools. And 18.8% enlist in the military. We have the enrollment is nearly 2% of the nationwide cadet enrollment, and our students performed over 53,207 community hours. They achieved over $6.5 million in scholarships. All of our cadets are required to do a 5-year plan during that process to achieve their goals. So it's more about just the exercises that we're building future leaders, and it's amazing. And to see them, every one of them, when they came up to take the recognition, shook your hand, looked you in the eye. You could tell these kids get it. And I just want to say our ROTC leaders are phenomenal, and we just got more funding from the to be able to hire new instructors. We hired 7 new instructors. 5 of the 7 are minority, 3 are Hispanic, and 2 are African American. So we're increasing our diversity diversity and ranks in the ROTC program, and we're in the ROTC program in Lee County rocks. And that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Second largest community.
So it's-
Dr. Graham.
I mentioned this earlier, but it's been a very long day, so I just want to hear it one more time that you all are willing to accept. We changed our process for when we get you materials ahead of time. And so ordinarily for our newly scheduled workshop for Monday, we would be expected to, or next Tuesday, we would be expected to have those materials to you tomorrow. And because staff is still working to gather the information on the sales tax initiative that you all want, we're asking that we be able to get it to you on Friday. Just want to be sure that's still okay.
That's perfectly fine, because I don't think I'll be up to reading anything tomorrow.
Okay.
You okay?
Okay. Is that everybody?
Dozier?
Okay. I just also want to remind everybody that the applications for the adoption process are online, and we've advertised them multiple ways, and they're also on the they've also been tweeted. The parent link's been sent to all the parents. The adoption that's going to take place for 15-16 is 912 ESOL, 612 World Languages, specifically Spanish and French, 912 Health and Physical Education, 612 Honors Mathematics, so that's Honors Algebra 2, Honors Geometry, and the showcase is open to anybody that wants to see it. It'll be in the Caloosahatchee actually this week on the 26th. And it is our intention, depending upon how many people apply, either the math will be divided by those three separately. Some people believe that we adopt everything every year, and adoptions come in cycles. That's why I wanted to point out what's being adopted for next year, because it's not every year. And then the other thing I just wanted to share, because we talk a lot about trying to diversify our employee population, we have 4 events in the next 2 weeks, this week and next week, that we are out recruiting. 2 of them are in Illinois, one at Northern Illinois University and the other at Northeastern Illinois University, which is in Chicago. The other's in DeKalb. Is that how you say that, DeKalb? Okay. And then one at Alabama A&M University in Huntsville. And then there's an FGCU senior seminar for a day. We'll be attending that. And Grand Valley State University in Allendale, Michigan. So those will be happening this week and next week. So our recruitment efforts for next year have begun. We're excited about that. I appreciate your leadership and your today's workshop. I always learn when I listen to you all talk to each other, and so I appreciate that. And it is a privilege to lead this district.
Thank you. The next scheduled meetings of the board, there's a board workshop 5:30 on March 3rd. On Tuesday, March 17th, there's a school board briefing meeting at 2 p.m. and a school board action meeting at 6 p.m. At this point, having no other business to come before this body, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
And Teuber and La Riviere, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0.